At the start of the millennium, children of the time were hooked to the fantasy of mechanical warriors saving the world. While Halo was the big focus of the gaming world, LEGO launched what would become one of the most defining action figure lines of the decade, Bionicle. But time went on. Halo kept going while Bionicle faded into memory, living on only in the hearts of the people who grew up with it. And as long as we're here, its legend isn't gone. So let's do something with it while we can. What if we merge these two titans of early 2000 sci-fi? What if the Toa were Spartans? It's time to Halofy the Bionicle. Greetings, Vernissage here. In this long overdue episode of the Halofying series, we'll be creating brand new Spartan armor sets based on the Toa Mata from Bionicle. When tackling something like Bionicle, which is known for a ton of different iconic designs, the best I can do is begin where it all started. So if you're interested in seeing more of your favorite Bionicles, then just let me know. But see, this time, I'm not alone. While I had Bionicle sets before I'd even unlocked consciousness as a kid, I never got too deep into the lore itself. So I called in a friend of mine, fellow YouTuber and artist XeZzamE, aka Penny, to help me out with these halofications.
Hello! It's been a while since I've addressed those in the Halo sphere. My name is Penny, and I'm an artist, VTuber, and retired HaloTuber. I've decided to partner up with Vern to do this project back in May of 2023, oh my goodness. And only now have both of our schedules cleared up enough to let this happen. To explain my contribution a little, I provided some very rough sketches over reference images supplied by Vern for the video. Once I was sent work in progress pictures, I'd give feedback and ideas to help align the concepts with the inspiration. Quite a while was spent poring over molded parts by LEGO, as well as lore written for Bionicle. Being well versed in the series, it wasn't much of a problem, mainly since I didn't have to do the heavy lifting. It was a ton of fun to work on this despite the wait, and I'm super happy you all get to see what was cooked up.
Now, as always, my lovely Spartan 2 patrons and Discord mods have also been a huge help when developing these designs. I really couldn't have done it without them or Penny. Now, gathered friends, without further ado, let's begin. Clad in red and orange, Tahu carries the Mask of Shielding, which projects a protective field that can deflect almost any physical strike. Now, even though Tahu's themed around fire, his How mask actually gives off a rather sleek and harmonious look. So to halofy this design, we have to honor his original look, while also making it more sharp and practical for the body of a Spartan. The How configuration of the Toa armor core was first field tested on worlds in the midst of Covenant glassing, with the helmet's additional shielding capabilities being able to easily disperse plasma fire. How proved highly effective in intense environments. With this shielding advantage, How-equipped Spartans are known to get up close and personal with their enemies. When halofying Bionicle, I think starting with Tahu was the most natural way to go about it. Not only does he stand out as one of the most iconic designs with his How mask, but his overall composition is quite standard for this line of Toa, making him a prime candidate for the base look of the armor core. Speaking of, all the halofied Toa use the same armor core, and the idea is that it basically works like it does in Halo Infinite. Pieces such as the helmet, shoulders, and chest attachment are interchangeable, while armor such as legs, arms, and the chest piece all stay the same. So Penny, tell us a bit about your ideas when it came to Tahu, and what unique armor pieces we see him wear.
Since you pretty well described Tahu as the standard for the Toa Mata, I figure I should cover some of the broad design goals for this armor core. Seeing as the Toa Mata have almost skeletal proportions and very prominent and recognizable greebling, I wanted to make sure that these details translated into the core. Stuff like the scaling on the right arm, the inclusion of the plus-shaped axle holes, toothed pieces near the belts, and so on. One detail in particular I was adamant about was the inclusion of the two-pronged fingers on the left hands of some of the Toa. To me, it stands out as a design quirk so intrinsic and unique to the Toa Mata and Nuva that later years didn't implement, and so I wanted to be sure it got the love it needed here. To close this ramble, I feel it'd be apropos to talk about the chest and feet. The foot pieces of the Toa Mata already had a shape that evoked something like Mjolnir boots, at least to me, so translating that accurately wasn't a major issue. As for the chest, Tahu has this strange inclusion of a random ball joint slapped onto the center of his chest with no explanation as to its purpose. As far as we know, it's just a cool detail the set designers liked and decided to put on there to fill space. Ever since, it's been a very fondly remembered detail of the Towa Mata, and we saw it fit to include it.
The helmet is an area that changed quite drastically over time. When we first started working on this project years ago, the design I sketched up looked quite sharp and more leaning towards the Halo side of things. But as time went on, we wanted to include more Bionicle's DNA, and a big thing was the transition over to individual eyes instead of a full visor. While we lose some of the Halo-ness of it, I'd argue the surrounding details make up for it. Let us know what you think of this design. Known for his unusual head placement, Onua is the Towa of Earth and wields the Mask of Strength. And with this halofication, we want to portray his mask power in a more practical sense, something more fitting with Halo's universe. The PAKARI configuration features an auxiliary power source mounted above the fusion generator, granting the wearer significantly greater physical strength than standard Mjolnir. Although the ancient human schematics embedded in the armor remain only partially understood, their effectiveness is undeniable. Originally engineered for demolition, PAKARI is outfitted with a mounted blade and reinforced gauntlets, enabling its user to carve through debris and excavate the ruins of a battlefield with ease. Onua is one of the tricky ones, seeing as his Bionicle design has its head attached to his chest, giving him this sorta hunchback look. And unfortunately, I didn't really feel like doing that here. But luckily, Penny had an idea.
Seeing as we couldn't make Onua play CS2 Premier until his neck fused into his sternum, we needed to get creative. In a harebrained scheme concocted at 3 AM, I had the thought of giving him a back brace attachment, akin to something you'd see for a sci-fi load lifter unit. In theory, it would fill out his silhouette and make his shoulders and upper body appear bigger and taller than they actually are. In practice, it worked great. Not really something you could do in Infinite, but some of the chest pieces give you back pieces too, so we'll just pretend it's part of that. As for his claws, the other primary trait of Onua's design, the solution was a little less abstract. Seeing as Infinite has the option to change your gloves, it made sense to me that a customization option would be to have a more sharp and mechanical glove inspired by Onua's claws. I thought of those gloves that have the plates or segments on the back of the fingers, and recommended that to Vern as a jumping off point for where to take the design. Finally, making the fingertips sharp and long was a no-brainer.
Aside from these additions, I knew I wanted to take a few liberties. Seeing as Onua's mask power is enhanced strength, I wanted his silhouette to reflect that, so I gave him the role of an explosives expert. Aside from the bigger knee pads and the explosive munitions around his waist giving him a chunkier look, I also liked the idea that instead of digging with his claws like his Bionicle counterpart, the Halofied Onua digs with the help of his explosives, sort of staying true to the original. And lastly, I did also add a shovel to his thigh, just as a little nice nod. Let us know what you think of this design. Lewa, the Towa with more ways of pronouncing his name than there are Kanoka discs on Metro Nui, has one of the more unique looking masks of all of the Towa Mata. And with green being my all-time favorite color, Lewa is one we really have to get right if you ask me. The MIRU configuration specializes in aerial agility by integrating micro-thrusters for mid-air stabilization. True to the Polynesian origin of its name, Spartans wearing MIRU are known to move like the air itself. When paired with a melee weapon, the momentum of a descending strike can deliver a devastating impact against ground forces. Halofying Lewa's MIRU mask was undoubtedly the most challenging one in this project. Because looking at the original, its highly exaggerated features like the big goofy grin and the frowning eyes don't naturally translate well to a more grounded sci-fi universe like Halo. So right from the get-go, I toned it down slightly by bringing up the cheeks a little and making the whole thing more compact. Taking a look at the shoulders, while similar to the previous ones, are different. See, the axle connector pieces which connect the Towa's arms to their bodies can be connected in two different ways, and Lewa has them flat against his body, resulting in this alternate look for the shoulder.
I wanted to convey some of the specific skills the Toa had in their armor, and a good way to do that is to adapt their mask powers. Quick Bionicle history lesson, I promise it's not that scary. In the lore, these masks that the Toa wear have different powers. Tahu has his mask of shielding, and Onua his mask of strength. For Lewa, it's levitation. I guess this philosophy of adapting the mask powers must have rubbed off on Vern, since he sprung an updated Lewa concept on me in the dead of night that featured thrusters akin to the stabilizing jets on those Halo 5 weapon attachments. Great work, Vern! Now Lewa can more effectively hit sick clips on people in ranked infinite lobbies.
So let us know what you think of this design. Sporting a truly unique see-through visor, Gali is the Toa of water, and her scuba-like helmet makes that very clear. But how do we translate this to something even more practical for the Halo universe? The KAUKAU, along with the rest of the Toa configurations, was named after a natural force by the Polynesian engineer responsible for its development. KAUKAU, meaning to swim, reflects this armor configuration's specialization. Though its full workings remain mysterious, the system enables the wearer to conserve and regulate oxygen far more efficiently than any known UNSC armor platform. Because of this, Spartans equipped with KAUKAU excel in environments ranging from deep-sea trenches to the highest mountain summits. Gali is another one of those we started sketching up years ago, so her design was changed quite drastically. At one point, we were adamant that a full regular visor was the way to go, especially with some kinda iridescent look to implement the yellow from her eyes. But with the rest of the Toa having their iconic individual eyes, I felt like we just had to give Gali a similar treatment. And with Penny's unique idea of including two designs within the same helmet, this layered visor was created.
For some reason, I was really dead set on having both the Mata and Nuva variants of the Kanohi KAUKAU in one here. The non-Nuva, Great KAUKAU having a scuba mask kind of look just made sense as something that could be translated into a helmet attachment. Besides, acknowledging later designs of these characters in one go is always a fun thing to do. I do wish we got to do that more, like having Tahu's Bionicle Stars chest piece or some of the 2008 gear on these 6, but we can always do that next time. Speaking of chest pieces, Gali's got a cool one for this piece. It's specifically adapting the 2x3 socket connector piece that's attached to her Mata variant's torso into some kind of rebreather attachment. It gives her a more clearly defined underwater, deep-sea explorer kind of look that fits her theme well. It also doesn't leave a whole lot of room for misinterpretation, since the big tubes, mask attachment, and overall aquatic color scheme pretty well read as an aquatic operator, rather than some run-of-the-mill hazardous environment suit.
As for Gali's weapons, or should I say tools, I simply turn them into proper ice axes, but I see them as having more uses than just on ice. And finally, as some real Wernheads might have noticed, I included my original UNSC weapon, the L7 spear gun, on her back, to lean into the aquatic combat that Gali's known for. Let us know what you think of this design. While technically being the Toa of stone, Pohatu is really the Toa of speed, thanks to his mask power. But with his unique silhouette, Halofying Pohatu could definitely be a challenge. Designed for high-speed traversal across uneven ground, KAKAMA takes advantage of the UA Taniwa's shock-absorbing boot enhancers, as well as an additional thruster system to massively improve the user's movement speed. This mobility advantage allows Spartans equipped with KAKAMA to wield heavy weaponry without suffering the usual penalties to speed and maneuverability. Just like Onua, Pohatu was one of the tricky ones to translate to the Spartan body type. Seeing as I didn't feel like flipping the entire torso like the original did, I had to come up with a way to at least pay tribute to that unique look. And my solution was to, once again, change his silhouette to resemble his Bionicle design. By adding some equipment to his waist, as well as giving his legs some pouches, and if you squint really hard, you can probably see what I was going for. The reality is, Pohatu was a design we took some liberties with, but the helmet was kept really close to the original. It took a couple of tries to get there, but if it wasn't clear through the body, the helmet cements this as Pohatu. But speaking of Pohatu's iconic features,
it's a bit subtle, but Pohatu's foot additions are included. They're a part of his design that really sticks out to me and enforce his whole gimmick of being more focused on kicking and running in a cool way. Don't know how that would help a Spartan, but well, we'll just say they help him run good, yeah. Speaking of, Pohatu's Kanohi KAKAMA, the Great Mask of Speed, has been lovingly adapted into Halo's design language. The mask power made it over too, with the inclusion of high-powered thrusters integrated into the back of the torso armor. I was particularly fixated on how the KAKAMA would adapt, seeing as it's my favorite mask, but I'm happy to say it made the jump excellently.
And as for his weapon, I like the idea of him being fast as well as a big weapon kind of guy. So I turned the Commando into an LMG and gave his chest some rounds as well. Let us know what you think of this design. And finally, the Towa I keep referencing in other videos, Kopaka, is the Towa of Ice and features one of the most iconic masks in all of Bionicle. So for this one in particular, it's really important we stay true to the original. The AKAKU configuration of the Towa armor core was originally developed for long-range reconnaissance, but early field tests revealed a critical gap in close quarters capabilities. To address this, from 2560 onward, all Spartans equipped with AKAKU have been issued an SRS-99 series sniper rifle, a Pattern 2 composite sword, and the Tahu defensive shield. With Kopaka being the whole inspiration for my Linda redesign I made a while back, I hope it's clear how much I respect his original design. And this halofication just came kinda naturally, which isn't that surprising, seeing as it's one of the safer designs. What did change over time, however, was his weapons. At first, I imagined him being only a sniper, very much in the spirit of Linda. And while I sorta kept that for the final design, I felt like ignoring his iconic sword and shield just wasn't an option. At first, I tried making some sort of captured Covenant technology based shield, but it just looked a little too out there. So in the end, I ripped the shield straight out of the original and gave him the machete seen in Halo's difficulty symbols. But just like Gali, there's more than meets the eye with the helmet.
As a longtime fan, seeing Kopaka's mask without the distinct scope array on the right side is bizarre. However, much like with many fan-made interpretations of the concept, I like it. Like what Vern said, I think the shapes of this helmet owe themselves well to Halo's design philosophy, and aren't overly tricky to translate. Since I don't have a whole lot to say about Kopaka, I'll say this. My ideal casting for the character would absolutely be Steve Downes, voice of Master Chief. Something about his calm, cool demeanor and ability to convey emotion subtly work really well for the character. Just something to think about.
So let us know what you think of this design. And there we have it. Those are all 6 of the Halofied Toamata. Which one is your favorite? And let us know how you think we did. And if you want to see more Bionicle content on this channel, let me know. And if you haven't already, now's the time to go over to Penny's socials and follow her work there. She's super talented, and I couldn't have done this project without her.
And thank you, Vernissage, for having me on. It was a ton of fun to collaborate and work so closely with your design process. As a fellow creative, it's very exciting to see someone with such skill work on a project and watch them think through the process and make those little decisions and changes that exemplify passion and creative thinking. It was an honor and a delight to work with you on it. As for where to find me, I'm mainly on Twitch now. I stream at least once a week over on my channel, but usually end up doing Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. There's a lot of fun variety stuff over there, from art and hobby stuff to weird, eccentric games. My YouTube isn't as active since I don't have a strong passion for making videos anymore, but I'll still occasionally upload stuff. But yeah, Twitch! Go over there if you like VTuber stuff and nerdy women. See you all Starside!
And of course, a huge thanks goes out to my lovely Spartan 2 patrons and Discord mods for also helping me out with these designs. If you want to be a part of my redesigning and halofying process, then check out my Patreon. You can even become a free member and see some stuff early. Now, I want to thank my Spartan 2s. That one guy, Diehard Cult 3, Ripcorded, Coat and Wash, Captain Waffles, and Poison Ebony 666. My Spartan 3, Azores, and my Spartan 4s, Bike 02 and Armazol. If you like this video, give it a like. If not, a dislike, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I wish you all the best, and take care. Vernissage